Are you nervous to teach your kids to read? Do you have one kid that you've taught but the next one doesn't seem to be catching on as easily? I have 3 readers and each have taken a different journey to becoming readers. Today I'm going to share with you their journeys, my takeaway, and some tips and advice that I would give to you. So, my oldest kid, she is now 8th grader, and I was eager to prove that I could be a good homeschool mom. Like many of us are, as first-time homeschoolers or as first-time parents, and I wanted to live up to the stereotype of having an early reader, a strong reader, and a homeschool kid who loves books, right? That's the stereotype. I was so sure that it was going to click, that she was almost there, and I pushed really hard, and I pushed in early as we were going into kindergarten. She was not yet even 5. But I just knew that if I did everything right, I was going to produce this, the stereotypical homeschool kid. You know, that's what I was going to do. And all I had to do was everything right, you know? I followed the advice that people said and the gurus and whatever. So it was going to happen. It didn't. We struggled. I yelled. We struggled. She cried. We struggled. To shorten the story, in 2nd grade, we discovered all about spelling. I think it was still pretty new on the market at that point. This was 2011. And she became a reader. Was it all about spelling? Was it the age? Did something else happen? It just clicked? I don't know. But she went from struggling with CVC words to being on level in a semester. So within a semester, that's what happened. Now, for her privacy, and because the story belongs to her, I'm not going to say much more. I will say that it has continued to be a struggle. We have had to enlist outside help. She works very hard. We've had more tears. We've had more frustration, more yelling. She's on level. She's slow. Her father is a slow reader. But she's on level. And she can do it. She doesn't love reading. Whether that is a result of her journey, or her personality, or what, I don't know. I don't think she'll ever have a big stack of books voluntarily on the side of her bed for leisure reading. She does love audiobooks though, and she goes through several a month, so I count that as a win. I do have plans to have a video, or I have plans to do a video on if your kid doesn't love reading and how that affects homeschool, what I do with curriculum, etc. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss it. Now, number 2, kiddo. He was my kiddo who made me realize that I needed to not push early academics. I didn't try to push him to make sure he knew his letters and sounds at 3. I didn't try to have him doing workbooks at 4. And his sister's journey had been so hard that I wasn't eager to get started with teaching him to read anyway. So, come his 7th birthday, halfway through the 1st grade year, I decided it was time. He was not happy about it. He was not happy. He knew his letters mostly, and he knew their sounds mostly. We'd played around with all about reading in kindergarten, but not strictly, and that was about all we had done, outside of just like reading to him, reading aloud, that kind of thing. But with him, I was pretty confident that if I just kind of showed him how reading happens, that he'd catch on and he would be fine. So I chose to get progressive phonics because I wanted just to jump into like, here's how you do it. Like, let's just practice that. I'd use Explore the Code with Elizabeth, but I knew that wasn't going to be, I didn't think that was going to be enough for him. And I thought it would be too slow of a pace for him. So We chose progressive phonics because my library had it. That was the only reason. I liked it. I did. And before we were halfway through the book, he was easily reading CVC words. We went a little longer, not a whole lot. So a little over half the book, and then we stopped. I added in a little bit of Explode the Code, but that was really all we did for first grade. By the end of the summer, so right before we started second grade, he was reading at a third grade level. Early third grade. So about a year ahead. Being the child who 6 months before didn't know all the sounds. 2.5 years after we started the process of making sure he knew sounds and letters and starting to read, so summer after third grade, he read the entire Harry Potter series that summer twice. That was big. Now, number 3, kiddo. Matthew, he's my normal kiddo. I mean, just like on level for everything. Every milestone, he just kind of hits it all on level. And that was true as a baby. It's been true at the school age. So I just expected that to be the case for his reading journey as well. Shortly into so back up a little bit. Preschool, kindergarten, we had done a little bit of the Explode the Code, Get Ready, Get Set, Go series, but not all of them and not all the pages, and it was pretty low-key. Again, I delayed academics with him because he and Ben just kind of go together at that early age, especially what one got, the other one got type of thing. So, I thought his journey would be pretty easy. He'd learn his letters, then he'd learn the sounds, and then he'd start reading CVC words. And so, preschool, kindergarten was just mostly Explode the Code. We also did some bare necessities. I really liked that, and I have a video showing a typical lesson, so I will link that. Early in his first grade year, I had a feeling that he was pretty close. He hadn't been trying to sound out words, but I thought, I don't know, my gut just told me that he was close. So I put a couple Bob books on the couch in our schoolroom, and he wandered in and picked it up, sat down, sounded it out, and he was a reader. It really was as simple as that. And I finally understood with him how easy of a journey reading can be. That was also the case with pregnancy and with breastfeeding and with toddlerhood. With him, my other two were the challenges, and with him, he just did it. So we continued with Explode the Code for first grade, and then second grade, right now, we just stopped book 4 of Explode the Code, and I told him, man, he was just growing irritated. I shouldn't say irritated, but he didn't seem to be progressing. He seemed to be getting more out of reading than out of the phonics book. So I told him that we would stop as long as he did more reading during school, and unless I saw that there was an area that we needed to focus on and Explode the Code. So far, we've not needed to. So 3 kids, 3 journeys, but I have 3 readers. So, what's my takeaway from all this? Well, you could say that delaying academics produces earlier readers. But that was just my kids. There's no causation proven there. You could say that pushing my daughter hard early on didn't harm her in the long run, and I would agree for her. But it didn't help. It didn't make the journey enjoyable, and it didn't help our relationship. So you could say that pushing too hard turned her off of books. I don't really think that she probably would have been that child anyway. She enjoyed listening to books when she was young, but never in the same way that my boys did. And never in the same way that a lot of kids do. In corollary to that, you could say that not pushing academics early made my boys into book lovers. But again, it's just anecdotal. So my takeaway is this: there's no guaranteed outcome with a certain path. Anyone who tells you that if you do this, this, and this, you're going to produce this kind of a reader is not someone I'd want to listen to. Obviously, listen to other people for advice and tips. That's what I do here. But there's just not a guarantee. And anyone who tells you that there is doesn't have enough variety of experience, in my opinion. So what advice would I give you? What tips do I have? 1, don't expect any of your kiddos to don't expect all your kiddos to follow the same path. They may not. Don't compare your child and where they are to anyone else. Don't compare them to your other kids. Don't compare them to their public school peers. Don't compare them to anyone else. They are their own unique child, own unique person, and they have their own unique path for reading. Know your child. Number 3. When Ben was late to learning his sounds and those letters, my gut just told me that he'd catch on quickly whenever we started. If I had listened to other people, I would have been very concerned, but my gut just said I was fine, or he was going to be fine. My gut told me early on that I was going to need additional help with Elizabeth, but I ignored it. My gut with Matthew told me that he was just going to be a normal, average, on-pace child, and he was. Number 4, know what your child should know at their age, but don't base everything around it. But when should you be concerned? Well, not a professional. So this is just my opinion. If your child is 8-ish and they are not on level or nearly on level, I would investigate more. Maybe they just need a curriculum change or a method change. Maybe they need more testing. If your child is not yet 8, but you have something that tells you that your gut's just screaming out that they need testing, do it. Absolutely. I'm not saying wait till late. But if that's not true, if your child, have any reason to suspect a learning disability of some type, by 8, most kids it's starting to click. Maybe that they're at CBC word level and progressing, maybe they're at chapter book level and progressing. Either way, by 8-ish, it's clicking for most kids. As long as they're progressing and your gut isn't telling you anything, I would just keep an eye on it. A close eye. But I wouldn't get too concerned yet. If either of those changes, absolutely look into testing. No matter what their age is, whether they're 9, 8, or they're 14. If your gut's telling you something, or they stop progressing, look into things. With the thing with learning disabilities, especially in reading, is that, or particular, in this case, reading, a lot of kids will go undiagnosed because they can get the basics. You'll often hear people say, well, I wasn't diagnosed until high school. I was okay, but then high school hit and I was drowning, or in college I was drowning. A lot of kids can handle the basics, but when it gets harder, when foreign languages happen, when words get more complex, then the skills that they have aren't enough to translate into those other areas, or those more complex skills, and then it becomes a problem. So if your kid, doing CBC words and they're really good at that, but they can't get past that, or they're 5th grade and they've been doing fine, but then middle school hits and then suddenly the reading is just really hard for them, take a look into things. Read up about disabilities, dyslexia, or such. Pursue testing, whether it's through public school, if your district allows that, or privately. Don't wait. If you have a family history of learning disabilities, whether it's in reading or another area, or if they've been, even if they've been diagnosed or not diagnosed, but signs point to something, keep an even closer eye on it. Keep an eye on it from the very beginning. When my daughter was 5.5 or so, my in-laws made an offhand comment about my husband as a child that didn't really click with me. If I had it clicked, I think I would have sought help much sooner than what we did. I just didn't know, and it didn't all click. So if you have family history on either side, that deals with learning disabilities, keep an eye on it from the very beginning, because that increases your child's chances. And you don't want them to get to the point where they're behind, or they've lost confidence about their skills, or that type of thing. One reason I have hesitated to share this video is because I didn't want anyone to hear that my oldest is reading on level now, and think that means that they can just get through, and wait it out, and their child will be okay. Probably my biggest homeschool regret is that we didn't test and get help sooner. I didn't really know, and I didn't listen to my gut, and I listened too much to other voices, and I really wish we had sought help sooner. So my biggest piece of advice is just enjoy the journey of learning to read in those early readers. They are such beautiful memories to me with my youngest. Ben's was so speedy that he was just all of a sudden reading. I mean, I did love watching him devour the Harry Potter series last summer. So it's just that, he was a little bit older when it was happening, so he was doing it more on his own because he was suddenly far above the point where he needed me. Read in front of your kids, read to your kids. I don't love reading out loud, so take full advantage of audiobooks. I didn't want to do audiobooks very often early on because I felt like they're just picture books, like I should be able to read them. I mean, I should read them, but I didn't always want to read them. So even young ones, picture books, get out the audiobooks. Older kids, audiobooks. We do audiobooks often in the car. Whatever their journey looks like, enjoy it, as long as they're progressing. When they stop progressing, seek help. Let them read below grade level. Sometimes the kids just love to pick up books that are easy for them. It builds fluency, it builds recognition, and it builds fun of reading. By far, reading is probably the subject that has been the hardest and giving me the most gray hairs. I listened, like I said, to too many other voices in my head, other people's voices. I didn't listen to my gut enough. I bought too much into the idea that homeschool kids will love reading and they'll be strong readers, and from early on they'll choose hours of reading rather than other kid appropriate activities. But in the end, I've taught 3 kids to read. Their paths were different, the results are different, but I've taught 3 kids to read. Well, probably the hardest subject to teach. No, there's no problem. It was my hardest thing to teach. The joy that I don't know if pride's the right word, or I love that I did it. Like, I feel so accomplished that I taught 3 kids to read, and it seems so basic, but I did it. And I have 3 readers. We're finishing up. Matthew's been reading for 1.5 years, but I'm still like blown away that I did it. So celebrate that. If all your kids, however many kids you have reading now, celebrate what you've done and enjoy the next journey. Just dig into it and go for it. So there are my stories. If you have any questions, comments, anything that I skimmed over that you want me to go into more, leave them below. Thanks for watching.